Example 2. Solve each equation for x. So we're still dealing with more than one variable, but this time we want to make sure that we have it say x equals instead of y equals. So y equals 5x minus 4x. The first thing I'm looking at here is I'm looking at my right-hand side and I'm going, wait a minute, I can simplify. 5x minus 4x is 1x. So I'm going to leave my y. I'm going to combine like terms. That's just 1x. Solve each equation for x. I'm done. X equals y. Letter B, 2x plus kx equals m. Okay, well this time I'm looking at it going, okay, 2x plus kx, both of my x's are on the same side, which kind of makes them like terms. But last time I had like a 4 and a 5. Well, I knew what to do with a 4 and a 5. This time I have a 2 and a k. I don't know what to do here. So what we're going to do is you got all of your x's to one side of the equation. That's good. But I need to solve, and I need this equation to simply say x equals, not 2x plus kx. I don't like the 2 and I don't like the k. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this thing called factoring. Factoring is kind of the opposite of multiplication. We all know how to use the distributive property. And we're going to ask ourselves, okay, well, what can come out of both a 2x and a kx? And the answer to that is I can take out an x. And this is actually called a greatest common factor. Now, we're going to take our x, we're going to set it over here, and then I'm going to set up a parenthesis. If I take an x out of here, I have a 2 left. Plus, if I take an x out of here, I have a k left. What you just did right there was called factor out the greatest common factor. Now, if you check what you just did, factoring is the opposite of multiplying, meaning it's the opposite of the distributive property. Take a look at this. If you take x and distribute it, x times 2, 2x. X times k, kx. Isn't that what we started with right there? So the blue one is what we call factored form. The red one is what we call standard form. And if you have multiple variables and you're trying to get it down just to one of them, you have to factor it out. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to leave all that there. I'm going to go down. I'm going to say, okay, well, we factored it out and we had x times 2 plus k equals, and then over here we had an m. So actually that's where we're at right now in our equation. And now I want to get this x by itself. Well, this is x times this whole quantity. The opposite of times is divide. So we're going to divide by 2 plus k, which means over here we're going to divide by 2 plus k. This will cancel, which will leave me with x equals m divided by 2 plus k. And on this one, we can't really simplify that any further. We're done. Letter C. Once again, we're going to solve for x. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, I have an x here and I have an x here. Is there anybody over here that does not have an x? Well, that's 3. So because he doesn't have an x, we got to get him to the other side. We're just going to leave the people with x's over here. So minus 3, minus 3. That's going to leave me with a 5x minus kx equals y minus 3. So y minus 3. Now again, I'm trying to get this thing to say x equals, but there's an x here and an x here. So we're going to factor it out. I'm going to factor out an x. I'm going to factor out an x. I'm going to put my x, set up my parenthesis. If I take an x out of 5x, I'm left with 5. If I take an x out of kx, I'm left with negative k equals, and then just leave the y minus 3. Now, I'm trying to get x by itself. This is x times this quantity. The opposite of times is divide. So we're going to divide by 5 minus k on both sides. Over here, they're going to cancel each other and leave me with my x, which is what I wanted. Over here, I'm going to have a y minus 3 in the numerator. I'm going to have a 5 minus k in the denominator. And again, that is as far as you can simplify on these guys. And you're done.